Hello, my sexy muffins. I'm going to get to the intro in a second, but first, trigger warning. There is mention of SA, the R word, child touching stuff that has been happened to me. This is all that happened to me. It's not me making anything up or anything. So there is mention of that of illegal substance use, underage, drinking and smoking, and just a lot of bad stuff I did as a child and what was done bad to me as a child. If this any of this is triggering for you, please leave now. You can watch another video, but there will be some heavy topics in this. I will keep it as vague as possible, but there will be mentions of it, so please do what is best for you. You don't have to watch the video if it's something that will make you uncomfortable. Again, trigger warning. Please advise and stay sexy on my sexy muffins. Let's do this. Hello, my sexy muffins, and welcome back to the 1000th video. This is my 1000th video, including shorts, that I have started since I started this channel. And you all voted for Audio My Life. I obviously don't have the money to animate this, to get this stuff animated. Sorry about that. But I wanted to do something big for my 1000th video. So here we are. Let's do this. It's going to be a long one, so strap in and strap on. And yes, I did steal that slogan from the Click. That is not my slogan. You cannot steal it. He's probably going to print that on a shirt, so keep an eye out for the merch of that. The Click is a YouTube meme reader and such, and is pretty satanic Swede. So I did steal that, but I'm not going to take credit for it. Anyways, let's do this. It's a long one, so strap in and strap on. We're in for a bumpy ride. Again, I stole that. One. Okay, I was born August 25th, 1995. I am the third child of my mom and dad. Oh, sorry, I grabbed the thing. There we go. I am the third child of my mom and dad, but the sixth child of my dad. I have two older full siblings and three older half siblings, so five older siblings altogether. I am the second youngest. The first memory I had was that I have when I was sentient slash aware of being alive. I had was when I was 3 or 4 or 5. I cannot remember the age exactly, but I was in the store. It was my birthday, either third, fourth, or fifth, and I was allowed to pick out any toy I wanted. And that toy was a stuffed Pikachu, which I got a replica of it because it was thrown away because poopy relatives and stuff saying, "Oh, you're 13, you don't need plushies," and threw out all my plushies. But I got it on eBay as a replacement one, and I did a video on it if you want to check it out. That was my first core memory for me. Then my life started to take a lot of things I do not remember when I started. Took a lot of things I did not remember a lot. A lot of my memories are really skewed because of abuse and stuff, so I do not remember a lot of stuff. Anyways, the next memory I had was when I started kindergarten. This is when I really started to remember stuff. I had gone to preschool at my babysitter's house. Do not know how legal that was, though. I went to a religious elementary school that will remain nameless. I remember a bit of my kindergarten teacher. I was a bit nonverbal at this point and very odd because I was undiagnosed autistic and all that stuff. My kindergarten teacher told my parents I was a morbid child because one of the class lessons we were to have to see yourself where you saw yourself in about 20 years. I drew my teacher in a coffin and me crying at her funeral, as she was a really nice teacher, but on the older side. So I thought she had to be unalived at that point when I was an adult, and that I would be sad at her funeral. And again, my parents were called in and everything, and it was horrendous. I struggled a lot with cues and was hyper adult fun time even in my youth, which I am yes diagnosed hyper adult fun time. I'm following YouTube guidelines, so it's the actual. Anyways, so much during nap time I would do naughty things to my body and was punished by rulers being slapped against the back of my hands. I do not know if my mom knew about this or not. Again, it was a religious school. Either way, I then made it to first grade at the age of 6 years old, but struggled a lot and was still a lot very much nonverbal. So mid year, I was pulled back to kindergarten and had to do the rest of kindergarten. And I was starting to be taught sign language since I was nonverbal, and the school provided this service for nonverbal kids, which was a bonus. I forgot most of it though, to be honest, so do not ask me to do sign language. Around this time, I was also tested for autism for the first time. I was also tested two more times later of this and tested in my adulthood, but the doctors all said that they were not comfortable doing it. And also the latest one of the doctor said that I just have so many mental illnesses that wouldn't change anything of my treatment of how I did it, except for learning social skills, which that's just it. And I'm already in that for therapy. So, anyways, and when I was at 6 or 7, the doctor said she was not comfortable diagnosing me autistic because I was so young. Rolling my eyes. At this point, I was learning how to mask pretty well, though, with such, and I continued to mask for years. I injured my head pretty bad one day at school, and throughout the year, I kept getting nasty ear infections as well. After one really bad fall, the doctor said I would need brain surgery. I cannot remember the details of what, it was a long time ago. And from that surgery, I ended up getting a complication where I can say things fine in my head, like my thoughts are concise and very, very articulated, but I cannot say stuff out loud. Like sometimes I trip over my own words. I can't read out loud without stumbling over the words and all that, and I can not like do proper grammar or proper writing and punctuation when I write or type, because I just don't see the errors. Even if I reread it a million times, I just don't see the errors, and it reads fine in my head, but it doesn't translate from my brain to speech, typing, writing, etc. Anyways, also, and it showed in eighth grade when we were doing reading buddies, and I was reading a second grade level book, and I kept tripping over the words. I could read it fine in my head, but it wouldn't translate to my speech. Anyways, onwards. And I injured, so that surgery did cause that problem and issue. Now, when I was 7, sorry, I lost my place. Now, when I was 7, there we go. Some bad stuff happened that was SA and the R word by my father from 7 years old to 9 years old. Do not worry, he is unalived and burning in hell. In second grade, for almost a year straight, because of the SA and R word, I would make myself throw up in the school bathroom from the stuff that was happening to me, because I couldn't tell anyone. I felt like and I was acting out by making myself throw up because I just couldn't deal with life. Nothing big in third grade, and in fourth grade I joined drama club, which kept me very sane in the school year. Grade 5, when I was 10 years old, this is where my mental health really took a hit and just went down from hill. I was very I was very morbid at this age, drawing people with their heads removed or limbs cut off and very much bloody scenes. And I became more morbid where I would also take my Barbie dolls and remove their heads or even use scissors to cut off their limbs. I am not a serial unaliver, obviously. Hurt I never hurt anyone like that at all. Thank God. But I was starting to become very morbid, and it was also kind of me dealing with my mental health stuff and all that. So of course I was acting out in various ways. I did not remember it because I repressed my memories at this time. And also in fifth grade, I was bullied relentlessly for years by one student. Let's call him Rick, obviously not his real name. And he bullied me for months. And I told the teachers about this and all that was going on. and they just said ignore it. Of course, they sat him next to me because it was that loud bad kid, and you know how teachers back in the day used to sit the loud bad kid by the quiet nerdy or the quiet antisocial kid to teach them how to behave. And of course, that never works out. It ends up with the kid being sat next to them, being relentlessly bullied. And that's what happened to me. One day he said something so horrific, I can't even remember it, but it was so horrific that I ran out mid class because he would whisper under his breath and say horrendous things to me. Because, side note, my dad did not walk the dogs during the day so they would have accidents inside the house. And he was a heavy smoker. And we had cats, multiple cats, but one litter box, which he did not change when he was supposed to. So the house smelled like pee, poop, and also cigarettes. So, of course, I stunk as a kid and I did not realize this. And so I was bullied, and he would say, I stink, I'm disgusting, I probably have shit on all over me, and so on and so forth. It was relentless for every single day, and I just couldn't take it. I ran out of the class crying that day, called my parents in an empty classroom, and called them and saying I wanted to be picked up and never to go back to school. I was sobbing and hysterical. My dad got the voicemail and got my mom to come and to the school during her lunch break so they could talk to the principal. I was outside the principal's office crying still, and my mom was screaming at the principal because I told the teachers about this and didn't tell my parents because I thought the teachers didn't care, so why would my parents care? And my parents weren't informed about this at all. And so my mom was blown out at them, screaming about what was going on because I gave them a small summary that I've been when they came, they asked me what was wrong. I told them I've been bullied for months and the teachers haven't done anything. And so my dad saw me out in the hallway, and he knelt down next to me and asked, who did it? He asked who did it. And I pointed the kid out because it was lunch. They were in line for the cafeteria and stuff. And he grabbed the kid by the collar after I pointed him out, slammed him against the locker, his feet dangling off the floor, and pointed his finger in his face and said if he ever said anything to me again, he would. I can't remember the details, but it was so horrific that my dad could not come back on school grounds. But the parent of the kid did not sue because my mom threatened to sue the kid and the school for what they did. And the next year, the kid was not allowed to return to the school. And in the same year, he was transferred to a different class, and I did not see him again that year. He did not come back the next year, and all that stuff. My parents got divorced when I was in sixth grade. My mom had full custody, but my dad had supervised visitations. Side note, all my life, as long as I can remember, my dad would get drunk and violent every weekend, so much that he would hit my mom and sometimes hit us. And so for our safety, we were given a choice where dad could be arrested. He was arrested twice when I was really young, but my mom didn't want him to go away for life because third strike, you're basically in prison for life. And so she would, and she was raised very much heavily that you don't divorce your partner no matter what. So it was very toxic. And she did, when she did eventually divorce him, she was made, our religious leader at the time wanted her to get in front of the congregation and say she failed as a wife because she divorced my dad. And eventually I did told that same religious leader that my mom divorced him. And she didn't know this at the time, but I said it to him just to make him feel worse because my father was a child diddler and he diddled me for 3 years. And when she figured out, I didn't tell her this, she didn't figure it out. But I told him that to make him feel bad. And that was the last time I ever went into that religious thing. And I stopped believing in religion at that time. Anyways, so but we would go to the Red Roof Inn before the divorce every weekend and stuff like that. We had to stop going to the Red Roof Inn because we were banned because my dad showed up with a pew pew a couple of times, and we were banned from going to the Red Roof Inn because of that. And So we went to other motels and stuff because it would happen every weekend for years. Anyways, my mental health went during sixth grade went really, really bad. And in middle school, it was just middle school was a spiral of such. In eighth grade, I met a much older man online. I was 13 at the time, and I had adult fun time with him. He was in his mid 30s to late 40s. I know, horrible and wrong, but I was starting to remember because I repressed the memories. I was starting to remember my assault. I was looking for a father figure. It was just a mess. Do not meet adult people online. Do not do it. It never ends well. In eighth grade, I also, as I was remembering my essay in Grape, I did tell my mom eventually. It was like when I was, I don't know, 13. Yeah, 13. It was a long time ago. I'm terrible on if it's 13 or 14, but 13 I told my mom because of what was happening. We were going to forced visitations and stuff. And she asked me, why do I always come down? Did dad ever do anything to me? And I broke down finally telling her at 13 or 14 that he would do that stuff. And she almost turned around the car to unalive him because that is the one thing she would never buy if he ever touched the kids. She said she would unalive him. And she didn't know that until that moment. But it kind of clicked everything that he did and how I would run upstairs after he did stuff when my mom got home because she worked the night shift, got home around 2 a.m. and I would be downstairs just like shaking up and I would just race upstairs because my dad would threaten, if I catch you asleep, I'm going to hit you over and over until you are barely alive type thing. It was really bad. Like really abusive childhood. Oh, almost forgot. From and also during the summer when my dad got high and drunk, he would lock us in the basement so that he could do his paranoia of injections of like heroin. So yeah, we were literally locked in the basement as kids. Horrendous. Anyways, continue. In eighth grade, my brother, oh, sorry, I skipped something. Yes, eighth grade. In eighth grade, oh no, this wasn't eighth grade. I got the years wrong. Oh yeah, sorry, wrong thing. This is right. In eighth grade, my brother got into a fight and beat the living poo out of me. And when I said I was going to call mom to tell her that he assaulted me and almost gave me black eyes, bloody nose, split lip type of thing, he took the phone from me, smashed it on the ground, and he said, "If your life is so miserable, why don't you unalive yourself?" Obviously, he said the K word instead. At the time, I didn't know that was an option. Of course, it's never an option. Never do that. Disclaimer. But I did not realize it was an option. So I took over 30 Xanax to end my existence. And I woke up in the ambulance first because they had to transfer me hospitals and stuff. And I remember that the ambulance driver looked so cute, but then I lost consciousness again, had my stomach pumped. Almost, I did for a short period, passed away. I was for a couple of minutes unalived. And then I was admitted to the hospital. And during the summer of that year, we moved to apartments because my dad knew where we lived in the house. And so, for our safety and my safety, we were moved to apartments because that's all we could afford. Because we couldn't afford a house at the time, but we needed to get away from that location for my safety. Also, when my mom figured out about the abuse, she refused to let me do any more visitations. She got to the court order and said, I am not going to let my daughter do any more visitations. And I was taken off visitations. But I also did not press charges because I was just remembering this stuff at this time. And the police officers were honest that I would be eaten alive in court and he would probably not get charged. And then he might even issue for me to do more court ordered visitation. So I chose not to press charges for my own mental health safety. And after we moved to the apartments, I was in high school and I did terrible in high school. I was in and out of hospitalizations over and over for the next 4 years and beyond to my 21s. But at 13, this is when I was first diagnosed with schizophrenia, and at 14, bipolar disorder. And over the next 8 years to 21, I can't remember, and to now, to this period, I now have at this current time schizophrenia, OCD, anxiety, depression, seasonal depression, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, DID, PTSD, complex PTSD, and more. Yes, I am full of mental illness, and also I am autistic and have ADHD. At 15, I was arrested for blacking out and taking a chunk out of my mom's back with my teeth. I do not remember any of that after I blacked out, probably the DID and such, but from she was going to assault me. It was my 15th birthday. She was going to assault me by beating me up because I did something so horrendous. She was mad. And as soon as she entered the room, I completely blacked out. And then I was being arrested and sent to juvenile hall. At At 16, my brother beat me up so bad I was in a coma for a week. He did not get charged, though, because he was going to be tried as an adult if he did. And the lawyer basically talked my mom into it by saying, "Do you really want your son to go to jail?" He should have gone to jail, to be honest. He's a horrible piece of poo. He's racist, homophobic, transphobic. He's used the N word. We are white, by the way, and he said he would kill those inwards. So yes, he's a terrible piece of poo. He's like the scum of the earth type thing. Also, he's a chomo, basically child diddler. So yeah, he's a terrible piece of poo. At 15, I was arrested and for blacking out, and I took. I already read that. At 6, so I was basically, and they thought I would lose my sight in my right eye because the blood vessels were broken and it was swollen for a whole month after the assault, and I had a broken nose, which why my nose is so gross, and all that stuff. It was just terrible. And where were we? Oh, yes. Okay. After that, I got very sick, and I won't share the details here as what it was because it's just too much. When I was 21, I was going to end my existence with a pew pew, finding that my mental illness would never get better, it felt like. I was tired of fighting, but I met my angel. Them, my angel. I met my best friend at the time. They were my best friend. They became my best friend, and I am keeping the stuff vague on them because they do have stalkers IRL, and I do not want them to end up being hurt. But yes, they eventually became the love of my life and are now my partner. But they started out as my best friend. I was 21 at the time. They legit saved my life by asking one simple question: "Hey, do you like slashers?" Literally, that's what they sent me over quote of. Anyways, we stayed friends and became partners, and I have known them for almost a decade now. Since I met them, I have not been hospitalized. Great. That is perfect. I got my job from a friend when I was 22 and started to do scripts for adult fun time videos. Yes, I worked in adult fun time videos and still do part time. At 22 or 23, I moved out on my own and for 3 months and lived on my own for 3 months. My mom lost her job and was facing ageism, where no one would hire her because of her age and health issues. So she did not have income and money. I moved back in with her, and after a few months, I got her signed up for early retirement because she tried to sign up for disability, but they wouldn't give her disability, but they did give her early retirement. She's been on retirement since. She got it when she was like in her late 50s, I think, or 60s, one of the two. I can't remember. Anyways, I did not want my mom to go homeless, so I came back to help pay bills. The apartment was a 2 bedroom apartment that was like $800, and it was going to go up to $900 if we did not move out in 2020. So I moved back and helped her throughout the years. Throughout the years and throughout my entire childhood, I was the scapegoat and the emotional punching bag for the family. And it continued all the way until the world changed. I'm talking about 2020. 2020 is when COVID happened, and I was getting so sick of living them. I was ready to just leave and probably be homeless just to get away from them. September 5th, 2020, I finally started to break free of the abusive home and moved out into my own apartment where I am now. In these last few years, I have slowly worked up on standing up for myself and doing so much to make me happier and not taking crap from my mom and sisters. I started a YouTube channel and found myself happier than ever with my partner who has stuck with me through it all. Here is a few things I did not add as well throughout it that I remembered at the end of the video. 13, I was smoking illegally and continued to steal like cigarettes from my mom's purse and such. No, that is not okay and such. Also, and I also smoked for over a decade. Smoked for over a decade, a pack a day as an adult. And not as an adult, but smoked for like illegally smoked as well because it was underage. I was a very bad child. I went to pharmaceutical parties where we would take pills from family members and throw them in a bowl and just pop pills. It was terrible. And I also did underage drinking because a store at my place near the where I grew up would sell alcohol to minors. They were eventually torn down because they found they were selling alcohol to minors. And I stopped quit in the last few years. I stopped quit smoking. I have been assaulted and raped multiple times and have had issues with that and reproductive health. So I won't share the details because that's my personal business, and I think that's a little bit too much for even YouTube. I made some of the best friends I have online, and I cherish them always. I finally at some point, told my love muffin I loved her. And we do not know when we started dating exactly because we started treating each other as partners. So we cannot pinpoint when we consider we started dating and stuff. I found out I am not cisgender, but I am genderqueer. Spent over 16 years figuring out my sexuality and gender identity and working on my PTSD, and now finally gone low contact with family just 4 months ago. And my brother did an overdose and passed away, fentanyl poisoning, and I hoped he suffered because he's a terrible piece of poo. Like, he is way worse than my father, and my father was like terrible. Like, you can just imagine how bad my brother was. Like, he set I can't say some of this. I can't say the stuff he did as a child because it is against YouTube guidelines, but it was horrific. Like serial unaliver type of stuff. He never unalived a human to my knowledge, though. And I think that's it. And yeah, that is my life so far. Also, I was diagnosed. I when I was an adult, I did get tested for autism, but with my mental health issues, they don't think that giving me the label autistic would change anything of how I do stuff. So that's that. Anyways, I think that's it. I hope that you all. Anyways, that is it. I hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you would like to see more stuff about my personal life and more details on mental health or sexuality, gender identities, etc., I will do my best to do it and all that good stuff. I hope that you all enjoyed this, and if you would like to see more, comment below what you would like to see, and I will do my best to do it and all that good stuff. Yes, it is a longer video. I hope that you all enjoy it because, oof, it was a long video to do. Anyways, sorry, I keep saying anyways. Anyways, I hope that you all enjoyed and stay sexy, all my sexy muffins. Bye bye. Secret outro time, secret outro time, secret outro time, secret outro, baseball bat. Welcome to the secret outro. The secret outro question of the day is: what was your most hard thing you went through growing up? I cannot pinpoint what one was the most hard thing for me. I had a horrific childhood. I left a lot of the abuse out because YouTube guidelines, but it was horrific. Anyways, I hope that you all enjoyed and stay sexy on my sexy muffins. Bye bye.